OnePlus 12 or the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra? Which one of these Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 flagships should you go for? Well, if you have that exact question, well, this video is going to answer it for you because I'm going to go over their build quality, design, their cameras with a bit of a camera comparison, screens, gaming performance, and even check out thermals too. Report on which one of these does dissipate the heat the best to give us the best frame rate when playing a demanding game like Genshin Impact. And also check out their charging rates, other benchmarks, and factor in, of course, the price. And which one of these I think should you go for if you are after a new flagship in 2024. So let's take a look at what is included with our phones. With the OnePlus 12, we get quite a bit more than Samsung. So when you first get the phone here, you'll find this little box here at the top. Now this does include a adapter, which is a Type-C to Type-A adapter. Then under this, you'll find a Red Cable Club card. There is our welcome card, OnePlus sticker, safety guide, and quick start guide. But there's still more here. Along with the phone, you'll find our SuperVOOC charger, which is 100 watts, and then our red Type-A to Type-C cable. Samsung, on the other hand, doesn't really give us a lot. We have our phone, there's nothing else behind it right there. And then inside the top part, you will find they do include, well, a little bit of paperwork. So you see that we've got our paperwork there, SIM tray tool, and they do include a Type-C to Type-C cable. But the charger, well, that's missing. In hand now, looking at their builds, the Samsung is a larger phone. The squared design doesn't feel quite as comfortable as the OnePlus 12 in hand, and there's a big difference in the weight. We're looking at 220 grams with our OnePlus 12 versus 200 and around 32 grams with our Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Both of the models have Type-C ports that are USB 3.2 spec. They do support video out and very fast data transfers with them. So with the Samsung, you do get the active stylus, our S Pen, and Samsung DeX. Now, both of the SIM trays do take 2 nano SIMs, so there's dual SIM mode with these models. Up top, you'll see that we have 2 microphones here with the S24 Ultra. We've got the microphone at the top with the OnePlus 12, but it does have an IR transmitter there at the top. This is the secondary loudspeaker. Both of them have secondary loudspeakers, and you can see that the Samsung is a little bit wider there. So it's a slightly wider phone, and we're looking at a difference in thickness of 8.6 millimeters with our Samsung versus 9.2 millimeters with the OnePlus 12. For cameras on the rear, there is a difference with our optical zoom cameras. The OnePlus, well, this is a 3x optical periscopic camera, 64 megapixels. The ultra-wide is 48 megapixels. With the Samsung, well, its periscopic camera is 50 megapixels. It's 5x optical. The ultra-wide is 12 megapixels. Main cameras, well, we're looking at 50 megapixels with our OnePlus, which is f1.6. and 200 megapixels f1.7 with the Samsung. So there's a difference there, and we do have Hasselblad colors with the OnePlus 12, whereas Samsung, well, they're doing all of that themselves. Looking at both of our displays, so they are similar tech that they are using. It's LTPO, so we're looking at 120 hertz. Both of these AMOLED displays too, so very smooth, very fluid here, and you can see that the frame rate currently at the moment will drop down because of the tech that they're using. So you can see it's down to 24 frames per second with our Samsung, 60 on the OnePlus, but as soon as I touch both of them, the screens go up to 120 frames per second. Both are very fluid and smooth. So the screens, you can see slimmer bezels with our Samsung, and then the curvature to the display of the OnePlus 12 makes it very nice in hand, I have noticed, and gestures from the corners maybe a little easier there to trigger to as well with the OnePlus 12. Now the OnePlus 12 also has a 2160 Hz pulse width modulation rate, so no flicker at all from the screen. I'm not really seeing any flicker either with the Samsung, and we're looking at a peak brightness of 2600 nits with the Samsung versus 4500 nits with our OnePlus 12. And you can see right now in direct sunlight, you can make out these screens, no issues, and use them. Not a problem to send text messages. And I noticed that the OnePlus 12, even with a little bit of rain, I can still use this screen. No problems at all. I don't get any funny ghost touches or issues, even with a bit of light rain on the screen. So both of these are excellent displays. these AMOLED screens with refresh rates of 120 Hertz. So what I will do now is just make sure I clear everything from memory on both of these and just do a little bit of a speed test here just to see the kind of performance. So first up, something very light, which is Gmail there at the same time. That seemed to have opened up quicker with the OnePlus. So just go back home and we'll run 3D Mark here. Won't run through the full benchmark, but just to load it. Again, looked like it was faster with the OnePlus. That definitely was, I think. And we'll go into now Play Store. So tapping that at the same time. And just to point out, I am on the same wireless network here too. So should be no speed difference at all with that. And we'll bring up YouTube too as well. Okay. And looks like, oh, that was very close. So maybe the Samsung was slightly faster then. You can see they're loading in the same account here. And scrolling speed on both is really, really quick. Whoops, I don't know what was going on there. Okay, still seems to be loading in a bit. That's what was slowing it down. But very, very smooth there on both of them. Really quick, excellent performance from them, as you'd expect from this spec here with this chipset. And then finally going to load up just the start screen here of Genshin Impact. See which one does that first. Okay, so the first splash screen did come up first with the Samsung. And it looks like it's going to load it in marginally quicker by the looks of it. Okay, it's the first to get into the account, so I'll just get out of that. We'll go back and do one more thing here, which is gallery. Okay, that tended to have come up a little bit faster, I think, on the Samsung there. And what I have noticed, however, is that the task management is excellent with the OnePlus 12. You can keep social media applications for up to 72 hours, and they are not closed there at all. So go back here to 3D Mark. None of these are reloading. They're still in the memory here, which is good. Oh, okay, we're seeing some reloading now with the Samsung. So that already killed that off. The Samsung has killed off Antutu in the background. That's probably why Genshin Impact did load up a little bit faster. We'll try Twitter again. Okay, faster there with the Samsung. So both of them really quite similar here. Gmail, okay, that's still in memory there. So quick speed test, you see that the performance of both of them is excellent with that Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. And you'll see the charging time, this is where there is a huge difference. So just 25 minutes to fully charge here, the OnePlus 12, versus what I measured, 67 minutes. And we're looking at a big difference here, of course, because it's 45 watts only with the Samsung versus 100 watts with our OnePlus 12. So if you need fast charging, well, that is clearly the model to go for there. And there is a difference with the internal storage speeds here. So UFS 4.0, but as you can see here from the result, we are getting a slightly higher score with the OnePlus 12. Its sequential reads a little bit slower there, but the writes turned out to be quite a bit faster. So there's a bit of a difference there, and you can see with the overall score that it was the OnePlus slightly faster. And 2.2 scores here. So again, I let them cool down around this test. So you can see that the thermals, and I'll be getting onto that a little bit more too in this video, that with the same test went up 16.8 degrees here, our Samsung, versus only 6.7 degrees. We lost 3% battery versus 6% battery loss. And the scores, well, clearly there, the Samsung slightly faster, but only about 70,000 points difference or so. So it's not a huge difference there. They're very similar in performance, as you'll see later on. So stress test here, this is testing out the throttling, how hot they are getting. This runs for 20 minutes. And again, it was a test that I ran with both of the phones. Let them cool down at ambient temperatures first when I ran this, and you can see we have stability of 50.1% with our Samsung, and I'll just bring that up a little bit closer so you can see that. You can see, okay, we've got there 50.1%. The best loop score is almost 5,000, and you'll see now with our OnePlus 12 that it did get a slightly higher score here, and it didn't throttle quite as much. It's 56.3. You see, and the lowest loop score is quite a bit higher there too, versus our Galaxy S24 Ultra. And then I'll just show you here too our thermals. So we ended up getting up to 45 degrees. This is measured internally by 3D Mark. Okay, so you cannot change this at all. I believe it's the battery temperature. So 45 degrees Celsius versus 40 with the OnePlus 12. And you can see the frame rate was better, slightly better with the OnePlus 12 again. So that's good to see there. There's a bit of a difference in the temperatures, and you do notice this when gaming, and I will focus on that now. We'll take a look at gaming performance, but I'll break out now my thermal imaging unit here so we can take a look at those temperatures and just how warm will these get. I can see that the OnePlus 12, the screen, the front of it, is about, well, almost 27 degrees, and our Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, we're looking at some of the temperatures there. So just to confirm, that's about 27 degrees. Flip the phones over now. We'll look at the rear of them. Both of them are cool. Again, 27, about 27.1, 27.2, both of those there. Now let's play Genshin Impact, and this is going to be on maximum settings. This is the S24 Ultra, and you can see with my settings that I do have it set to the highest 60 frames per second with Genshin Impact, and we'll see how this is going to perform. So in this area of the map right now, it is very smooth, looking great. But what is it going to be like now, thermals, after 1 hour of gameplay? Gaming with the S24 Ultra, I've noticed that the frame rate sometimes does dip down a little bit more than the OnePlus 12 in my time testing it. Now, what about those thermals? Well, let's have a look here. So I can see now the front of the screen, we're getting a maximum temperature of 41.7, almost around about 42 degrees. And that, of course, is the front of it. So what I'll do now is I'll just flip the phone over. We'll take a look at the rear because it does feel quite warm, the frame. And that is getting up to almost, well, 41 degrees, the rear of the Galaxy S24 Ultra. So it does get quite warm when gaming, similar temperatures to what I saw with Wildlife Extreme. So it is very fluid here. There are no noticeable lags at all. So what I'll do, just like the S24 Ultra, both of them I'm going to play now for exactly 1 hour, and then I'll report back on those thermals. Which one gets the hottest? Am I going to see any frame dips, lag with them? So I've noticed that Genshin Impact on the top settings does seem to be a little bit smoother with the OnePlus 12, less frame dips. Both of them run the game really well, as you'd expect, with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, but it's probably also the 16 gigabytes of RAM, the 4 gigabytes more, making a slight difference there. But what I have noticed is that it feels cooler to the touch, the gaming, less frame dips, but exactly how much cooler? Well, let's take a look now. It's been 1 hour of gaming with the OnePlus 12, and using my thermal imaging little camera here, I can see that we're looking at the front screen here. There's a hot patch there. That's, of course, where the chipset is. So 39 degrees, almost 40 degrees there on the rear of it. And I'll just flip the phone over. So there is the back of it here, and we'll take a look at that. So it's getting up to, you can see now, 36.7, almost 37 degrees. So it is noticeably cooler. And now loudspeaker sample. So they both have dual loudspeakers. I have noticed that the Samsung speakers are a little bit richer, but the OnePlus 12 speakers, these are slightly louder. And you'll hear from the sample that I'll play you now, both of them at 100% volume. And a short camera comparison. So compared to the Galaxy S24 Ultra, the OnePlus, I did notice that it does tend to have better colors with Hasselblad's color optimization, the white balance a little more correct. Shots are very similar here, as you can see. The Samsung tended to oversaturate. It's quite obvious with this one. As you can see, colors look a bit more saturated with the Galaxy S24 Ultra and more realistic and true to life with the OnePlus. With portrait photos, I did notice that the Samsung tends to over-sharpen a little bit. Stitching on both is good. Again, I'm leaning towards the OnePlus 12 with its color optimization, just being a little bit more correct here, the white balance. And with zoom shots, I did notice that the OnePlus wasn't quite as sharp as the S24 Ultra, and more saturated the zoom photos too with the OnePlus 12. Bringing both of them up to 10 times digital zoom, you can see again a difference with the saturation. The OnePlus 12 was a bit more oversaturated, but it didn't feel too bad considering this here is a lot more digital zoom against the S24 Ultra, which again looks over-sharpened if you ask me, a little bit over-processed. Both of the zoom cameras did fare well with moving subjects, shutter lag, and daylight, not a problem with this duck that was moving about. They both took an excellent shot. In the low light photography, I do prefer the OnePlus 12 because the shots look
More realistic, better white balance here. And I do like the fact that OnePlus has retained those darker areas, the shadows intentionally, just to replicate what it really does look like. The S24 Ultra shots do look good, but they're just a bit artificial looking to me and not as natural as OnePlus 12.
So there we go, that is the comparison there. You can see that the OnePlus 12, it runs cooler. 5 degrees cooler with the 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme Stress Test. And it did run cooler gaming. Genshin Impact, that was at the top settings. It was a little cooler, dissipated the heat better. We're looking at not so much of a difference, not quite 5 degrees, but more like 3-4 degrees Celsius difference there. And I noticed less frame dips too with the OnePlus 12. So if you game a lot, it would be the mobile to go for. Now, build quality on both of them is excellent. I do like the way the OnePlus 12 feels in hand due to the curved framed on the corners. It just feels better in hand than the S24 Ultra, which is still very nice, the build quality of it. The flat display versus curved, so there's a difference in those two as well. And both of them are very bright, very fluid, 120 Hz, both of course with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, so they're powerful flagships. And the color science, different there. I prefer what Hasselblad has done with the color optimization. I find just the portraits and the colors to be a little bit more true to life. And I do like what I'm seeing there with the optimization of that. The Samsung tends to be a little bit more oversaturated, more aimed at, say, social media. It depends on what you like there, but I prefer to have a more true-to-life color, and that's what you get with the OnePlus 12. Now, charge time, no competition there. 25 minutes for the OnePlus 12 versus 67 minutes for the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. It's rather slow there. And of course, you don't even get the charger in the box. The other huge factor is the price difference. The OnePlus 12 is a lot cheaper, and I mean a lot. So if I'm gonna pick a phone out of these two, unless you really do need the 5x optical zoom and that 4K front-facing video and the stylus, I would go for the OnePlus 12. Save your money, you're getting a fantastic phone. It offers really what the Samsung Galaxy S24 does have, but a lot cheaper, and it really is a great phone. So thank you so much for watching this comparison of the OnePlus 12 versus the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra.